Hello, hello, hello. Excuse me. Welcome to another stream. Does this look like a ship? Sure does. Let's see here. Dang. Dracula calling me out. I was only a little bit late. 4 minutes. What's up, Jimmy? Good morning. Yep, Tuesday, Thursday. That's my schedule. Also, that's the schedule I'm trying to do, at least. It's much more manageable than the everyday streams. It's a good balance. Micro quad. That's kind of cool. I like how when I click on this, it gives me the image. It doesn't take me that link. It looks like a ship. I feel like there's not enough contrast in the colors. What's up, Dracula? How's it going? I feel like there's not enough contrast in these colors. That's just my opinion, though. I don't know. I'm not very good at art, so. But it doesn't have any like depth to it, if you know what I mean. Like it looks flat, which it's hard to not have flat things on pixel art, but it looks good. The shape looks good, I think. I want to look at this. That's in my list. Do that. Work. Yep, that's life sometimes. I'm doing well as well. We had the US holiday Labor Day yesterday, so it was a nice off day. Got a 3-day weekend. It was good. It was enjoyable. I got a cup of coffee right here. I'm all set. Yeah, I think something was wrong with the color on that. Ow. Ooh, getting closer. Let's take a look. That's interesting. You can see it drawing. Bro, you need to get an external hard drive. Hard drives are so cheap. You get like 2 terabytes for like 50 bucks. I guess it might be more expensive in Belgium, but I don't know. Here it's like pretty cheap. I have an external. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess if you only have a laptop, it's a little bit harder to just buy a new hard drive and throw it in there. Problem is most stuff is programs. Oh, yeah, video games take up a lot of space for me. But like most games I try and they're like a 60 gig download, I'll try them and I'll be like, I don't really like this, and I'll stop playing it. Like you're gonna play a AAA game, so I just uninstall it and then I have the room back. Heavily inspired by Raylib. I think Raylib has a pretty good interface. I don't know how they let you do shaders though. I didn't really understand that. I guess I didn't look too hard, but I don't remember reading anything obvious in their docs. Yeah. When I was making my rendering library, I was very inspired by Raylib too. Examples. You know which one it's called? Oh, shader. Float 1, float 2, float 3. Is that like a vec 1, vec 2, vec 3? Default fragment shader. Oh, you make a material, put the shader into it. The one thing that's hard that I don't understand, they must have some like standardized shader interface for how I guess uniforms are pretty easy to set up, but then you have like the vertex array. So then this is what I had to do with mine. I had to like make a generic way of when you import a shader, you have to what's it called? So you have geometry that's in one format, right? And then you have a shader which is in a different format. You have to make sure that the geometry format gets matched up with the shader format. So I had to do that kind of manually in mine. So I wonder how they do that internally for theirs. But yeah, it looks like you set up a material in this. I did mine slightly different than that, but looks nice. Oh, they have drop downs in Arcten. I didn't know that. Interesting. Oh my gosh. Xcode's 32 gigs? That's insane. Oh, you have to do it with HTML tags? Aw. I thought it was only 12 gigabytes. Nope. They gotcha. That's how they get you. It's crazy to me, like, what could this possibly have in it that takes 32 gigs? Like, you have GTA, which is like 60 gigs or something, and that's because of like audio files and video files and stuff like that, you know? But like, this doesn't have any of that. It's just like a program. Oh, there's emulators. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Hello, Visual Studio. Yeah, Visual Studio I know is pretty big. Tool chains maybe. Yeah, I could see it. Because compilers can get kind of big too, but bloat. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of this like corporate code just bloats out of control because what they end up trying to do is like in my experiences, jobs try to reuse legacy code too much. They're like, oh, someone's written this thing that would take us like a week to make. Let's just import what they made. Like they'd rather import something than make it themselves a lot of times. Even though when they make it themselves, like it'll be better probably. Need to update Xcode, it's cumbersome to do. Yeah. Well, it's a 30 gig program. That's terrible. So yesterday I was playing with a lot of different serialization methods, and I wrote this like I cleaned up my serialization interface, so I just have a Marshall function and an unmarshall function. And then I'd have a different method. So I have like flat buffers. I did JSON, and then I was working on doing gob. Gob still isn't working yet, and then I was gonna measure like how much each one took. That was kind of my idea. But something's going wrong with the gob one. I know it might be because of like generics or something weird. I don't think it's serializing the full thing. So I might try to pack it into a different like a different thing. I wonder if gob will do null pointers and if it serializes those tightly. It's kind of annoying, but app store says 12.6 gigabytes. I mean 12.6 gigabytes. I don't know why you guys do that. Why you guys use a comma instead of a decimal point. It's disappointing, Jomi. Gotta use decimal points. That's what they're for. Tried to tell ya. So the size increases because of new architectures for iOS and Apple OSs. Oh, they also probably have to do put a lot of emphasis into ARM compilers now. I don't know why you guys use a decimal point instead of a comma. Comma's for separating things in a list, and decimal point is for differentiating the different decimal spot of the number. Oh, yeah. I wonder if I wonder, you know, there's like A to I and I to O, I to A. I wonder if when you do that and you have a comma in your number, if they'll convert it properly. It's just such a weird, I don't know, just weird. Like, why would you reuse that one? Why don't you just use a period? Yeah, we always learned comma. It's just so strange. I don't know. I guess I don't really have any reasons why it's objectively worse, but it just seems weird. Oh, I think I know what the issue was. I remember thinking yesterday that it was Gob's like a stream protocol, and what they'll do is they'll send a definition of what the data type looks like, and then they'll send the data type, and then they can send the data type less large. So you have to reuse for the same stream. You have to reuse the same encoder and decoder pair. And I think I'm not doing that. I think I'm remaking the encoder. So I'm sending the same data type multiple times. Then the receiver decodes that and is like, hey, you've already sent this. So here's what we'll do. We'll go back one. Do grep ag for do certes.new. That's where I make it. Yeah, it really is just a convention. Either way, you're gonna know, except for the difference between two numbers separated by a comma and a I guess you'd only use a comma if you have a 3-number list. And then it's pretty obvious. I guess I can't think of an ambiguous case for the comma, so alright. I'll let it ride. Still think it's a bad decision, but I don't have any evidence to support myself. Okay, so every single client to proxy connection needs an encoder-decoder pair on both sides. And then the proxy to server connection needs one encoder to decoder pair. So let's go to all the mains. I think that's probably a good starting point. We'll start with client. I think this will be an interesting study though, because it'll be interesting to see like how much more efficient different serialization standards are. I'm probably not going to do any performance measurements because I didn't write mine to be very performant, but kind of confusing when you're doing an exam and they use American approach in the assignment, but it's not clear if it's a comma or a separator for numbers. Wait, what do you mean? Oh yeah, okay, so how about this? Here's an example. Like, well, let's say they're giving you a tuple of numbers. You're not sure if it's a vector or if it's 12.13. You know what I mean? I guess how do you separate tuples? Like a vector 2 or something like that? Or do you do like they maybe do something like this? Yeah, in Rust, you have to use a decimal point, right? Or like any other programming language, you have to use a decimal point because this would be confusing. Oh, I see. Yeah, in programming, it's always a period. Okay. Because they use commas. Commas are always for separators. I see. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, but there's I guess you can still have a decimal point that goes 3 spaces back. So, yeah, that is confusing. Yeah, I guess you can just ask your teacher, but that's annoying to have to do that in an exam just because it's. Now I'm thinking how we write a vector. Yeah. Like a vector 2. Because you don't know, like, even if they use this as the vector notation, like, you don't know if that's a 2D vector or if it's a 1D vector that is 12.13. I don't know. I guess they maybe just, like, you just have to put a space. But that's a little, some fonts are hard to read spaces. They have really small spaces, so it can be kind of illegible. I'm looking up how to math. Yeah, I don't blame you. I think we've determined that a decimal point is better than a decimal comma. I don't know what it's called. I think decimal, I don't know. Decimal comma sounds pretty good. I'll stick to that. I don't remember how to do it. All right, let's see it. Oh, use a semicolon. Interesting. That's very interesting. That's math knowledge of years ago that just came back. Nice. It's hard to keep that stuff on the top of your head, you know. Different notations is just the worst. I also wish America did like use the metric system. That'd make things so much easier. Cause I literally can't keep track. It's such an arbitrary thing. At least the metric system is a little bit like defined by things, so you can kind of remember like, oh, 100 is boiling. Like, okay, I get that. But I don't even know. It's like 200 and something in Fahrenheit. I don't know. Some like weird number. Yeah, so I'm glad I don't measure in stones. Do we measure in stones? Is that a thing? Is a stone's throw away? About 17 stones. And 0 is freezing point, yeah. And 50 is halfway between freezing and boiling. Sorry, I don't know. I'm just, yeah. I don't even know, dude. I don't know. Do you measure in stones? Yeah. Like this code. This code has a length of about 38 stones. Yeah, that's 38 stones right there. A stone can be used to measure anything, any type of dimension you want. Height, length, weight, intelligence, even. Like I'm a one stone coder. If you have more stones in your head, you're smarter. I'm just kidding. I don't even know. I've never measured anything in stones. I'm just making stuff up now. Error on stone 5. Yep. Oh, stone 5. That's here. Nope. I think this line's okay. I think. No, it's on stone stone 5, branch 6, leaf 1. That'd be impressive, like if we could talk like that. I actually don't know where the U.S. Measurement system came from. Like, what did they base it on? It might have just been one of those like historical things. Like, I guess horsepower seems kind of obvious. It came from like the number of horses you had or something like that, and then it got standardized probably. Yeah, it seems like it wasn't very scientific. It was more like this is what the industry was using. Whereas I think that the metric system is a little bit more like, oh, here's some important like chemical property. We're gonna base it around that. This is now a meter. Yeah, at 1,000 for a kilometer. That's what's the nicest part about the metric system is like you can just do like kilometer, and then it's like, oh, now you have 1,000. So here's my problem: is I have an encoder in the receive function. Oh no, never mind. I need to have one. Oh, because the encoder can do on my side. Like, an encoder does encoding and decoding. I should rename it. Yeah, I do like the metric system more, but I don't like the comma separated decimal points. I fixed my infinite loop, but now I have a black screen. Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw your just changed to blue. I saw your drawing function. You can tell like it looks like you can tell the pixels being drawn. So what I don't know if this helps at all because I know you're trying to do like a reduced thing, but like a reduced console or whatever. But how they do rendering, like in OpenGL for example, is they have a back buffer and they have a front buffer. And the back buffer does you render to the back buffer. The front buffer is displayed on the screen, and then you do all of your rendering to the back buffer, and then you flip it. So you do like one draw call to the screen by flipping the back buffer to the front buffer, and then you clear the back buffer and start rendering to that one. So they kind of alternate, and that way you're not like clearing it. Yeah, but it's called like double buffering. And I've done that in other situations too, because it can make things a lot more efficient. I did it for my collision system. Okay, it's 25 minutes late. Unbelievable. Well, that's all for today, boys. I'll see you guys next time. No, that's all right. Welcome. It should draw everything and then move to the next frame. But it should draw everything, then move to the next frame. I don't think I understand. Oh, after 825 frames, it starts doing weird stuff. Huh. Is there like a memory leak or something like that? Because there might be some, I don't know, some resource might be leaking, and then like that's the only thing I can think of. If it's working consistently and then it stops working, like you're running out of something. Especially if it's like a small basic loop. Let's see here. Oh, I did it in the wrong file. Oh, it should tell me what file this is. Okay, we have it in network, we have it in two mains, and we have it in MMO. Okay, let's look at this one. What is this? Proxy. Whenever we serve a net connection, this is for the server. Okay. Handle game updates. Receive data from the game server and send it to the client. Yeah, so I need to have an encoder on both sides. That's what's so weird about Gob. So I should wrap the socket so that there's a, I don't know actually. I just need more memory. I feel like more memory is almost always nice in a computer. The possibility that I made a memory leak is somewhere about 99%. Hey, at least the colors are changing, Jomi. At least it's changing, you know? Sometimes it sucks when you get you have a bug and you don't know where it is and nothing's changing. How much memory you leaked determines what color the screen is, maybe. But I definitely messed up my encoder structure here. I'm trying to think if this is worth it. If I want to organize it this way for good, probably actually. Who starts serve netcon? What does this do? Where do I log in the Mango socket? Handle game updates. This is going to, because the proxy is more confusing. So I need to have like a proxy to server encoder. That's fine. And then I probably also need to pass it here, to here, to here, to here. Actually, I want to call this like, I'll call it that. We'll call it the proxy to server encoder. Don't need a comma. Then when I do serve netcon, I can pass that in. s.proxy to server encoder. Cool. That's what this function does. I'm gonna put this over here. Now I need to add in my, like really what I should do is I should wrap these two things together. The encoder and the server socket. And like probably write like a write function with those. But I'm not gonna do that just yet because I'm not 100% sure if I wanna do that. This one does the opposite direction. And this is what's hard though, is that like a game update goes, I find the net connection, I send it to it, but I don't have the encoder for that net connection anymore because that gets created. Maybe I make like a client connection, I make a server connection struct or something like that. That's probably what I should do. Then every connection has like a serializer protocol that it follows. I think that that's okay. I don't really see any issues with doing it that way. So I'm just trying to think. It's hard to think of why stuff doesn't work. Let's just give it a shot. Let's give it a shot, see what happens, and yeah, that'll be it. Know when I'm suffering in the future, we'll know why. I didn't think it through. Okay. We'll make two types. Type 1 is going to be called server connection. This one's going to be client connection. This one has a netcon. It also has an encoder. Serdes.encoder. This one has a Mangos socket. Yeah. Is that a pointer? Oh, cool. And now, when I make my socket, make my encoder. Did I make this capital or lowercase? We will go capitals. That's the one bad thing about Go. I kind of don't like anymore. Originally, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea to make it a capital letter to make it public, but I kind of don't like that because it makes it really hard. If I want to just make a type and I want to name the thing that I set the type to that same name. Like, I want to call this the server connection, and it's a server connection. Not to like shorten it somehow. Maybe I do like server con. I don't know. Do that, and then we'll do socket is going to be sock. Cool. And then instead of handling that, both of those we'll just add the server con to that. Yeah, it's nice because it's explicit. It's also like you know exactly what's public and private, and it's very simple. You know, like it's very easy to tell, and I don't have to have like public blocks like where I'm like, oh, this is public, and these ones are private. So you can lay out, you're a little bit more flexible with laying out your structs. But yeah, it's just kind of annoying for naming. Want to do something similar for my language? Yeah. I think it's probably the way that languages should do it. I don't know. I think in my case, like, it's like, is it really that bad to make this public? And then like just reuse the name? Or is it really that bad just to like server con, right? It's probably fine just to do either one. Because it's in a main anyways, so like there's no downside in a main package to make this public because I can't import a main package into another package. So I end up just by habit making everything public, which is not good really for libraries, I think, but because I definitely leak abstractions sometimes where I don't intend to, but like because it's my code, I'm not gonna like misuse it in some weird way. I'll have instance method func, static method func. That's why I like Rust way, add pub. What do you do for types? You do like pub, like this in Rust? I guess that's not so bad. I don't think it would C, you know how C does the public blocks? I don't think that that's a good way to do it. Does Rust do this? Yeah, okay. Pub. That's not bad. I'd probably make things public by default. I don't know. Actually, would I? Wait, how does C do it? C doesn't do it. Everything in C is a struct and all structs are public, I think. C++ does public blocks though. You might be able to specify, you might be able to do like this too as well. Or actually it would be more like this. Public, like int, my int. But you can do a block of things. But structs are always, now I'm doubting myself. Let me look it up. Yeah, you can't have private data members in C. But in C++, can you make structs? I don't know. Structs that members by default are public. Classes, and this is in C++, structs that the members are by default public. And then classes by default are private. But I don't know if you can make members private in yeah, I can do static before a function to make it private, kind of. Well, making a static function just gives you like a namespace to call it. Just do it like split and have 1 million access modifiers. Yeah, I think in general, like a lot of data types should just be public. Like if it doesn't break your code by making it private, I almost always make it just public. Like I should probably make these public because if I ever put this into, like if I put this into another package, now I have to make functions that let people interact with it properly, which I don't know, it's just hard to make the right interface sometimes. Oh, internal file private open. Yeah, I think that those like information hiding stuff that programmers like to do a lot are usually like not as useful as we think a lot of the time. Like I think it's not that important to make things private. At least that's kind of my experience. But like the first thing I'm gonna look to do is use someone's functions, not access their data members. And if you don't have functions, then I'm just gonna expect that all the data members are consistent. I think things should be public if any modification to it doesn't like break the expected behavior of the thing. Like if you can just modify something inside of this, it doesn't break the expected behavior. But for example, like this one, for example, if someone was to replace the encoder with another one, that would break the behavior, because these two things are I'm wanting to couple them together, and I'm not wanting to change either one of them. So what I'm saying is basically like the invariant of this struct is that these two things are always going to be made and destroyed together. But if you have some int that's like if you had some int that's like number of messages sent or something like that, like I would be fine making that public. I don't know, maybe that's a bad example, because I might not be fine making that public, because now that's like I want this to always reflect the number of messages sent. But it's like now you have to have like a get that number, and then you have to have like a clear that number. If I'm gonna have a clear that number function, if I'm gonna let the user clear it, I'm just gonna let them set it to whatever I want, whatever they want. So if I'm gonna add a clear function, if I'm gonna make this add this data type, oops, well it'll probably be like a uint or something like that. But if I'm gonna let them clear this, then there's really no reason to not just make it public. And if they want to set it to some random number, that's fine. Unless there's like some thread safety concerns or something like that. I do prefer everything private by default because it makes you think about what should be public. I like Swift's approach to getters and setters. What is their approach? I typically don't like getters and setters. I feel like if you're gonna have a default getter and setter, you should just make it public. And that's what I see in Java a lot, is like people will just they'll make some private data type, and then they'll use like some code generation tool to just generate a getter and setter for it. And it's like, why are we doing this? Like, why shouldn't this just be public? Yeah, honestly. Welcome you to the stream. Yeah, I don't know which part of my rant you agreed with, but I'm glad that you agreed. Thank you. Hello, welcome. You can define a computer variable. I'll send an example in Discord. Yeah, send it. I'll look at it. I'll give it a look. Hello. Anyways, so we'll have a connection to the server, and then we'll have a connection that'll get created for every single client that logs into the proxy. So I think I broke this interface by making that new data type, so this one needs to be fixed. So let's do that. This will be server con. That's gonna be a server connection. I don't know if I make this a pointer or what though. Let me look. I think that this can be a pointer or just a data type, because I think that the socket's an interface, and then I think that that's already a pointer, so it doesn't really matter. I'll just make it not a pointer. Okay, I'm just gonna do this because I don't want to change the rest of the code. Actually, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna compile to see where the errors are. I feel like I have to be using this type. I call it sock. I'm gonna call it sock. Yeah, I'll call it sock. Let's take a look. Swift get set. Private var, my var. I'll have to sneeze. Oof. Public var variable get set. Oh, so this is how they do it. They make, well, hold on. Oh, so can they just interact with this? Like, can I just do like my struct dot variable equals like 5, and then that calls the set function? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can just interact with it this way. Sorry, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, I didn't see this. Yeah, that is interesting. I like it on the only worry, I guess the only worry that I have is that you're interacting with this like it's a normal like thing, but like you could set this expecting it to now be 1, and then now it's like 2. I'm not sure. I almost wonder if like that's not explicit enough. Like if it like if someone's gonna read that and they're just gonna be like really confused by this behavior. Because it looks like I guess if you know Swift well enough, it probably does. It'll like make sense. But coming from another language, if I wrote this in code and that's what happened, I'd be like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, how is that even possible? It's like a overrode. It's like the in C++ where you can overload the addition operator, and then like, but now it does something really weird, and now people don't expect it. It is interesting though. I like that it lets you interact with it, and it lets you interact with a function, but in a like a normal like without calling a function, but you are calling a function. Like I think that this would be super cool for something like this. Yeah, it's too implicit. Yeah, it's definitely not for every use case, and I think you were just coming up with an example, but I think where this would be really nice is if you had like a I don't really know, this is gonna be like a hodgepodge of languages here, but you can also only specify only getter set. Oh, okay, interesting. I think that this type of thinking though would be really cool for something like this. Sorry, let me write it out. Where you have like X, Y, Z, and those are like those are like integers or something like that. But then you have like a function. I guess I'm not really sure where I was planning to go with this 100%, but a lot of times I want to pass this thing in, and sometimes I want to pass it as a vector, and sometimes I want to pass it as like the regular thing, or like a list of the things, you know. I don't really know like what this would be, but it'd be like int, or to respect my capitalizations or something like that. I don't know. I guess these technically should be in some other thing, but you have like some vector. It would be nice if you could get it both ways. That's where I think that that's where I think like function overloading is super nice. Maybe this is more of a case for overloading, but I don't want to call it a get and get, like, you know what I mean? Like you can overload this and do that. Like let's say that this vec3 is in this other struct or something like that, and now you have two functions that are on my other struct, get, and they return different stuff. But I don't want to call a get. I just want to call like get my vec3. You know what I mean? I want to say like my struct v3 or something like that, and then like I want it to return the right type depending on what I need. Because a lot of Go code, a lot of the Go math code that I have to write is like very confusing because I have to do weird stuff like convert to a vec3 because some functions take a vec3, convert to a list of ints because sometimes it takes it that way. Sometimes I have to build a vec3 with a list of ints or whatever, which is kind of annoying. But I should just build the data and then like pull it out however I want. If you define a variable that you can read outside of the struct but not set it, function overloading can be nice. Yeah, I feel like function overloading, the case for it is this, where you're doing the same exact thing, but you're just taking in different inputs. I think where people kind of abuse it is they will do different stuff with the same function name. And I think that that gets confusing. But it's hard for a language to enforce that the functions have to do the same exact thing, unless it's just like very basic getter, you know? Sorry, I'm rereading this message. So you can define a variable that you can get outside of the struct, but not set it. Oh, you're talking about with the getter set? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's fun stuff to think about. If I had to write a language, I'm not sure which way I would go though. But all right, let's see where my bugs are. Server con. Oh, this needs this. I need to rebuild this struct. That's fine. 30s.encoder. Java's get set it where you can just return and set variables is definitely useless. Yeah, I agree with that. It's nice you get paid in lines of code. Yeah. What I've seen mostly is that everyone just make everything private by default, and then they'll just use like Lombok, which is like a code generator in Java. That'll just generate all your getter, setter functions, which I think is just terrible on two fronts. One, because it's like there's no point to just not make those members public, and then the other point is like now you're just generating code, and it's really hard if you don't know what Lombok is. Like the first time you're looking at it, you're like, I have no idea how they're calling this function that doesn't exist. Like there's no like this function is like there's nowhere that I can find this function. You're just looking at the code. Yeah. Well, I think that I hope the IntelliJ generators actually generate code. Lombok, like it generates it at compile time. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if like, I don't know, I use it too. Yeah, I prefer generated code that gets generated and stays around, and then can get regenerated. You know. Yeah, Lombok will definitely save you lines though. There's also has a tool for that. Yeah, yeah. I don't think Go lets you do that. I know Rust lets you do that with some of the trait things. That's one problem I have with like their derived statements is that it's hard to understand what it's doing. I'm not really sure because it's not like for example the serialized and deserialized stuff I've been looking at recently. I don't really know like if there's a better way to make it more obvious what it's making. I don't know. It would be nice if I could see the serialized statement and know exactly where I need to go to understand what it does though. Because I'm fine with stuff in a language if I can like go like, oh, like for example, like I see this, I say, oh, this comes from the mangoes package, and then I go up here and I say, oh, this is from this package here. So now I have like the GitHub repository of the documentation I need to look at to understand what this is. I think that that's fine. But when I was looking at the Rust serialization stuff, it didn't seem like there's a path to follow to go backwards to find where it comes from. But maybe I'm wrong because I haven't used it. I just looked at it in the docs or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot to complain about. Yeah, these were called the wrong thing. So this also needs to be a server connection. Looks like I messed up encoder again somewhere. Server con. Oh, s.servercon. Server socket dot send. Oh, now I need to do let me see here. Where is this undefined? See, it seems like I defined it right here, so I don't know why this is WebSocket server s.server. Maybe I just fixed that. Okay. Okay, so this needs to be servercon.sock, servercon.sock, servercon.sock coder. This reads data from the game server, so I need to use the servercon here, dot encoder, dot unmarshal, because we need to unmarshal that one. But the problem was I was using the same encoder. But the next thing that needs to happen is once the user logs in, instead of, because I have a room that they get associated to, once I associate them to that map, which is their user ID to the net connection, this needs to be a client connection now. Yeah, well, it's my sock. I took my left sock off. I started using it here, but I'll buy another socket, or I'll buy another sock. I mean, it's a tube sock because that holds more memory. So I decided to use a tube sock. But some people like the minimalist socks too. It's kind of it's a personal preference kind of decision. You can use any. It's actually the sock interface. You can put whatever sock you want into the sock interface. So I don't know. It's kind of up to you, really. Whatever you're feeling. Encoder. Okay, but now I want to send the thing. So I read from the map. It's actually interesting because I do a read lock to get the socket, but I don't know if the socket's thread safe. I also 100% know the encoder is not thread safe. I think. So I have to change these to lock and unlock. Wait, does this work? We'll leave it R lock, R unlock. Is that what it is? They're both capital. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the client connection encoder marshalling. Then I hate that I have so much duplicated code. I feel like this could be a generic function with different types passed in. That's the hard part because you need like, I don't know, I need to have some like builder function or something like that. It's so hard to get this stuff abstracted to the right level. I feel like I'm always doing like really weird stuff, but whatever. Yeah, so this will be client con.con, right? This needs to do the same thing, client con.encoder, con.con.write, con declared but not used. Oh, okay, that's compiling at least. Well, I should be using the, I should only have two Serdes.new here. One for the server connection, and then one for each client connection. Oh, also have that needs to be removed. Okay, let me see, what does this stuff do? Defer func, log out. Yeah, the bad part is I have two threads accessing the same thing, and they're gonna have some kind of contention eventually, because the encoder has the encoder holds data for gob encoding at least. The other encoders are thread safe except for the gob encoding. I can just make I'll just make the marshal function thread safe. That's probably the way to do it. Now I've made it thread safe and it should work. We'll do this. I'm gonna call this client encoder. We have the client encoder. Yeah, this is the wrong encoder. Oh, these are all going. I do need the client encoder because I need to decode. This should be server con.encoder. That's good. Define encoder. Where does this go to? That goes to the server con. So I need to do server con data encoder. And the last one, this should be client encoder dot unmarshal. There's another encoder. This goes to the server. Oh, so these are. All right, let me think here. I get a world update from the client. I send that to the server. Okay. Thought I finally fixed it. Nice. What'd you fix? Oh, your infinite loop or your memory leak or the random colors popping up. The screen turned black and a low pitched sound started playing. It sounded like a game over sound. Interesting. I've had the only sound I've had caused by me writing a rendering library was I was rendering frames too fast. You know, like I wasn't rendering any data, but I was like stressing the GPU out. So I got like this an inductor where like there's these inductors on the GPU, I guess, and if you stress out the GPU too much, it'll start going like a from the inductors. It was weird. It was weird and scary sounding. It's like, oh, my GPU is about to break. Okay, we're getting a little bit further. Yeah, it's a little scary. It does, yeah, it does sound bad. Let me tell you, it's a scary sound. I don't think it's actually bad. I think it's like a normal thing. It just sounds a little spooky. Let's see here. Server send update. So I'm in the function that receives from the server, I must have some issue. Unknown message type. There's a duplicate data type receive. That's the underlying cause. Where's this though? One of these. Oh, it's probably this. Because I think I'm making the encoder and passing it in here. Let's actually do a here's what we'll do. We'll do a little tmux session. Oops. We'll start the server. It's hard to tell where the logs are coming from. Okay, so the proxy is getting a duplicate data type. That probably means that the duplicate data type. It's hard to tell if that's coming from the server or the client. So either the server or the client has an encoding problem. Let's look at the client. I guess the code's pretty similar for both of those, but like what I really should be doing is I should have at the con, I should do the same exact thing. Have like a connection data type. I think it dequeues too much somewhere, and that doesn't make any sense. Oh. Yeah. Debuggers are good for solving problems like that. Also, I like to use print statements, but debuggers are probably the better way of doing it, but I'm usually just too lazy to set one up. All of a sudden it gets instruction 130, but I don't have an instruction 130. Uh-oh. That is weird. Is that like WebAssembly instruction 130? My print statement only prints out numbers. Oh, like that's the only thing it's allowed to print out? You do like a console.log or whatever, a JavaScript call. Oh. Hey Mountain Shark, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day. We're crunching bugs today, one at a time. Memory is used by the queue and stuff in WebAssembly. Ooh, jeez. I need to make another cup of coffee. I'm falling asleep here. I'm falling back asleep. I slept so hard last night. Jeez. I'll be right back. I'm gonna make a cup of coffee. You guys get to watch the train for a little while. Where is it? Here it is. And this? Mesmerizing, I know. Every time I think I fixed it, the screen turns black again. Hey, eventually though, you're gonna be like, I think I fixed it, and then it will work. Sometimes problems are hard to fix because it's like there's multiple, you know, like there's multiple issues. Sorry, I distracted myself looking at something. There's multiple issues that you need to fix all at once, and like unless you fix all of them at the same time, those are the hardest ones to solve, in my opinion. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was saying that I have sort of proxy connection. This is called by who? Oh, the server. This must be on the server. At what point do I give up and write this in Rust? That's a good question. Probably right now. Actually, you should give up writing in Go. Go actually has pretty good WebAssembly support, surprisingly. Where does this get made? Oh, it must be called just directly from the server then. Let's see here. Oh, MMO CMD server. Okay. Create server systems. That runs the game, and this serves the proxy connection. I need to do the same thing that I do here though. Next unit video, rewrite my MMO in Rust. Ooh. Everything in Rust. If I switch to Rust, which I might switch to Rust, I'd have to make a language on top of Rust. I don't think I could code in Rust. I've thought about it though, because I do think that the Rust style of programming is going to be like what people start using in the future for distributed systems. And an MMO is just a distributed system, right? So I think it's like probably the best target language out there right now for doing this sort of thing. I think Go's like a close second in my opinion. This is just biased based off of the languages that I'm aware of. I don't really like. There's a lot of languages I don't know of, obviously, but I think Rust has a lot of. There is Go written on Rust. Oh, really? That's interesting. Try Swift first and see if that satisfies you. Is Swift for backend applications? I thought it was for like front end stuff, or not front end stuff. I thought it was for like iOS development or something like that. Is it a systems language? Is it slower than Go? Like or I guess does it have the feature that I think is most important from Rust isn't actually the borrow checker. I think it's the like mutability enforcer. I don't know if that's not technically the borrow checker, but it's like I guess it's part of the borrow checker. But the thing that enforces the mutable state, like that's why I would switch to Rust. What is it called? Or does Swift has that? It uses let and var. I think that's the most important thing. Well, I guess does it guarantee that I'm not gonna have race conditions? I guess that's the question to ask. Does Swift guarantee that I won't have data races? Saving currency model in the makes. Data race occurs when two threads access the same memory concurrently, and at least one of the accesses can change the value. Or it's already route. I haven't done much concurrency in Swift. Yeah, let stored properties. Stored property can be introduced with either var or let. A var may be mutated arbitrarily. I guess so lets are consts, and then var is a variable. Yeah, I don't think that this will guarantee that I don't have race conditions. Maybe there's like a set of rules I can follow to guarantee it, but I think the fact that Rust can like once I build a Rust program, I'm guaranteed, as long as the unsafe code is good, I'm guaranteed that I won't have any data races. I think that's a very powerful thing in a distributed system. Like the fact that they say this means that they can't prove it. A var is mutated arbitrarily, so accessing var properties concurrently is prone to data races. So they won't like, it's not, I guess it's not like provably guaranteed, but they'd probably have ways to like prevent it. Like, but Go has that as well. I don't know. I will do a Swift, I will do a Swift coding day though, to try it out, because I am interested in some of the ideas that they have. Var is let mute, and then let is let. I think I like the Swift differentiation compared to the Rust one. Because I don't think it's that hard to understand, like, oh, a variable is a variable, and then when you say let, they should just use const or something. I don't know. I think const is a better word, but then it's just a constant thing. I know that C++ has a const, which is slightly different, I think, but let sounds very mathematical. I'll do a Swift day one day. One day I'll do a Swift day. All right, up here we were gonna do this. Oh, WebSocket. Man, I'm just ripe with typos today. I need to look down. Do I even use this? Oh, I guess I do not. So ClientCon is gonna be a netcon interface. Excuse me. Rust to const is a compile time constant. I guess what's the difference between that? Like, can't they use const and it just means the same thing? Const is a compile time constant. Because I guess you can have a struct. You have a struct that is not mutable, but you can mutate it by calling functions on it. Is that why? Well, it can be like let x equals 5 times mutable variable. Oh, I see. Gotcha. That makes sense. And const has to be known at compile time. But can't you, if it's like let x equals like my struct, and my struct has functions that mutate internal variables, you can still call those functions, right? Or sorry, method. When I said functions, I meant to say methods. Like if I have an oh no, you can't. How do mutexes work then? You have to have a. I thought that. You need to make a variable mutable to call a mutable function on it. I thought. Well, so I thought that mutexes. The only way mutexes would work is if you, because you need to have two. Sorry, I'm trying to think here. Wouldn't like a read lock or a write lock be that would be a mutable change, but you have to have multiple threads access that for there to be the reason to have a lock for a mutex. But like what you're saying makes sense. But I just don't know how mutexes work then, because I thought that that's how mutexes worked. Maybe they're scoped in such a way that that's okay. That what you're saying is true. Like when you call the read lock, it gets the variable. It gets the mutable reference to a variable inside of the struct, and then it makes the change to it, and then it releases it, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. How do I unhighlight this? Because this is a terrible pink. Mutex is abbreviation for mutual exclusion. Okay. To access data in mutex, the thread must first signal that it wants to access by acquiring the mutex's lock. The lock is a, because I think it's like a ref. It's like a ref count, but it's like there's something else internal that. Therefore, a mutex is described as guarding. Yeah, okay, I understand that. You must first attempt to acquire the lock when you are done with the data. Good morning, JJ. How's it going? How are you today? You can't get locking and unlocking raw. Mutex new 5. You call lock and you get the mutable reference to it. Wouldn't like calling m.lock let m. So somehow they let you make this non-mutable. When you call lock, it does something. I just don't know what it does, you know? I want to see the code for multiple owners with multiple threads. Oh, this is reference counts now. Oh no. Mutex. Source code. What did I miss? Oh, lots and lots. No, not that much. I've just been playing around with, what do you call it? Different serialization methods for the MMO. Now we're talking about languages. I feel like we always devolve into some kind of language discussion every day. Not that it's a devolve, but it's like, we always talk about it at some point. We're just curious how they implement mutexes. Lock? Oh gosh. Let's see mutex guard. Where's mutex? Oh, mutex is an implementation or an interface, right? Or is this I can't remember the Rust syntax. See, like this is hard to read in my opinion. I think they should have made Rust simpler, but lock self inner raw lock mutex guard new self unsafe cell something to do with the pointer. Yeah, I did notice that it was a pointer. You know, looking at Rust, I thought we were using Go today. Unit switch to Rust. You missed it. Yep. We're right back. I need to get my coffee. If you have a reference $t, then normally in the Rust, the compiler performs optimizations based on the knowledge that $t points to immutable data. Mutating that data, for example, through an alias or by transmuting $t into a mutable t is considered undefined behavior. Unsafe cell opts out of the immutability guarantee of $t, a shared reference. Unsafe cell t may point to the data that is being mutated. This is called interior mutability. Yeah, this is the word that I heard of when I was reading about mutexes first, because I was confused on how those worked. I have to read this paragraph again, I'm sorry. If you have a reference $t, then normally in Rust, the compiler performs optimizations based on the knowledge that $t points to immutable data. Mutating that data, for example, through an alias or by transmuting the $t into mute t is considered undefined behavior. Unsafe cell the opts out of the immutability guarantee of $t, a shared reference. ampersand on self-lt may point to the data that is being mutated. Core permanent for interior mutability in Rust. All the types that allow interior mutability, such as cell or ref cell, internally use unsafe cell to route their data. Oh. I wonder how this is implemented. It's technically very simple. The .get gives you a raw pointer to its contents. It is up to you as the abstraction designer to use that raw pointer correctly. The precise Rust aliasing rules are somewhat in flux, but the main point is are not contentious. If you create a safe reference with a lifetime, is this kind of a hack? Yeah, I think I get it now. So yeah, so I guess so this gives you this gives you an interior mutable pointer to the thing, unless you do it like it basically like gives you a way to alias the same thing twice. And then you just have to guarantee that you have a mutex. You have to like wrap it in something that will get distracted, and also you have to make sure the thread safety doesn't happen. What is unsafe after all? Yeah. It's just yeah. Interesting. I'll have to read more about this. Thanks for linking. Yeah, I'll double the unsafe. I was watching a college football game and talking with my friend with fans on Reddit during the game. Apparently they said I have classic textbook signs of depression since I wasn't excited for college football or other things I'm normally excited for. Gotta get out of the house more. I don't know. I'm sorry you're feeling down. I like the get method implementation. Yeah, as cons, as mute t. We can just cast from the pointer of unsafe cell to t because this exploits libstd's special status. There is no guarantee for user code that this will work in future versions of the compiler. Huh. I'm not using Rust. We were just looking at Rust stuff. I'm still a gopher. That's kind of weird. He's switching to Swift. So I thought Rust's I guess the impression I had of Rust's type system, or their like borrow checker, whatever you call the mutability checker thing, was that it was like perfectly consistent with multiple threads. But it sounds like it's not consistent. It's like forces you to write a single threaded program, and then you have to kind of like hack your way around it to get a multi-threaded program, which is not bad. I guess I don't really have an opinion on it. I'm just didn't realize. I'll have to look into that more though. That's interesting. But I can't think about it right now because I have 15 minutes. I want to get this to compile. Server con, that is going to be a mangos.socket. That's good. Okay, let's look here. Okay, so we create the socket, and then we'll make a server con because this is the server one. We'll do coder is, and then we'll do, oops, I want this to be, so here I have to make these public, or I have to make a constructor function, which is probably the better way to do it, but we'll do this for now. Let's see here. Okay, create server systems. I don't make the encoder there, which is good. That was the problem. I was kind of like willy-nilly making the encoders when I needed them, which was the wrong approach. I need to pass them in from the top with the socket. We'll just trickle through and find all of the issues. Code. We have sock. We have encoder here. Imported but not used. That's fine. We don't do this though. Oh, I think I still have stuff running. How am I not using this? I might have commented something. I'm just gonna comment this. I'm gonna use server con. Perfect. We need to go to this one now, and then we can delete this encoder. I really should have just made a function that did this stuff into one, because I feel like I'm just like rewriting this code everywhere. That does like the encoding and the sending of the thing, because I almost always want to encode something then send it. Server con dot encoder. A lot of cleanup opportunities. Okay, server con dot sock dot send. Get that. Okay, looking better. I do want to finish up the client though. Basically make a WebSocket con, websocket.net con. Where do I use this? We'll make a MMO.client connection. Encoder is going to be serdes.new, and then con is going to be con. That'll be that. We'll look through the cons now, and we'll just find and replace those. Client connection, delete that encoder. You know how those kinds of errors, where the more you debug, the more confusing it becomes? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know those types of errors. Those are the worst. I'm having one right now. Oh no. Yeah, those can definitely be hard to debug. The worst is when you try to make it break and you end up fixing it and you're like, wait a second. I feel like my debugging strategy has always been whenever something's not working, I'll just try to do whatever I can to make it do something different. Like as long as it does something different, I can kind of start to understand the pattern of what's going wrong. But if I can't get it to do anything different, it's like I have no idea what's going on. Imported and not used. I am using it. I work on stuff tonight. Nice. Look at that. Now we have Gob encoding working. I know it's probably not that obvious to tell, but it is nice. I have 3 different serialization methods working. And I can swap between them. Where I make this, so I'm doing Gob right now, so I can do flat buffers. That works. JSON. That works. JSON was incredibly hard to get working. It took the most code, actually. Oh, I need to make I need to add a mutex to Gob encoding. What's the package called? I don't remember. So the problem with JSON and Go is that well, the problem is twofold. One of them is that I have to send a bunch of random components, like I have to send different components in the same spot, like the same map, for example. So I also have to include the type of component that it is to say what it is. You know what I mean? So I have a bunch of this stuff in there now. It's like world update message type to say I'm sending a world update message, so I know how to decode it further. And what you end up doing is you have like this, I have a JSON message where I decide what message type it's going to be. I send that, I set that, and then I encode the data based off what type it is, and I put it in the data section. And I do the same thing with where is it? Well, I have a JSON world update somewhere. Yeah, JSON world update where I have a JSON component. So I have a map of JSON components, and those are encoded the same exact way, right? They have to say what type it is and then what the raw message is. So there's a lot of this like, what is it? And then here's how you decode it. Whereas Gob, you just register the interface. You say like, oh, here's some concrete types that might be put into interfaces that you need to know how to encode them. And then Gob will figure out how to type it perfectly. And then flat buffers was just hard because you basically define this stuff in the flat buffer file, and like you define this mapping of what can be put into the same slot, because you're basically looking for some way to make a enum type, like the Rust enum type. That's kind of the struggle. Excuse me, but I think it's sync. I have to look it up. I'm not gonna just sit here and type a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it is sync. Let's see here. Oh, they have synchronous maps. Here I've been mutexing my maps the whole time. Yeah, I just need a mutex. Because because Gob's a stream encoding protocol, so I basically have to have this buffer that I write to. And because I don't want to tie myself to my messaging system being stream based, because I'm sending packets basically, because I'll eventually use UDP, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. But so I have like a buffer that I reset, and I act like it's my network. Yeah, I act like it's my stream, because I probably can't use Gob in the long term, even though it's probably the easiest one to use, because I have to use TCP to do that, which isn't a terrible requirement, especially if this is going to be a web-based game. But I'm just gonna lock and unlock this whole thing. What I probably should have done is I probably should have made an interface just more Marshall. I don't know, whatever. Encoder mutex sync.mutex. Wait a second, I don't think I need to do that necessarily. I think I can just do this. I can't remember if I use pointers everywhere. I think I do always pass this by pointer. These should be pointers though, just because everything else is a pointer. Here. So now when I do my encoder decoder, I need to also do like perfect. And then I just do this. I do s.inc mute.lock for func. If I don't do this today, I'm gonna forget. I'll lock it and then I'll unlock it when I leave. And that should be fine. The thing I really need to lock is this these buffers, these byte buffers that are used to do the decoding and encoding. This is not the most efficient way, but this is the way. Because I have an extra copy going on. But, you know, what can you do? All right, let's just make sure it still works. And then we'll do a commit here. And we'll call it. Method, job, still work? It still works, ladies and gentlemen. Were there errors in the, oh no, they're just, for some reason when you print the line number on the file, it does a weird thing. Cool. Let's do this. Get a looky-loo. These all look fine to me. I don't know why this file had stuff I removed. Oh, because I started passing the client connection object in rather than the socket directly. That's why. Okay. Like the socket and the connection, the con object, the net.con. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. This added all the gob stuff. Cool. All right. Go to push, and that'll be it. Oof, 10 a.m. Yep. How do I do what? Yeah, sorry, I have to go to work at 10. See all those changes? Well, so I use Emacs obviously, and then Emacs has a plugin called Magit, M-A-G-I-T, right here. And that has your I don't know if this is the default binding, but I do Control-X-G to open up my like It's just like a Git interface that runs in Emacs, you know. And then I can look at my unstaged changes and my stage changes. I can go to like a particular commit, hit enter, and just go and like look at it, you know. It just shows me the diff. It's like the equivalent of doing like git diff, but it runs in Emacs. Yeah, you can just type on the command line, you can just type git diff, and then it'll show you the diff of all of your changes. I think it even does the color coding for you too. Yeah. It's like it's basically command line Git, except you don't have to type in the commands. You just like there's certain keys you press in certain windows and it works. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I like it. It makes me a lot faster at Git because I can't remember those long commands to like rebase and stuff. But yeah. Yeah, thank you. I will try to have a good day at work. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. I hope you guys all also have a good day. And I will see you next time. Probably Thursday. Not rebase. Why not? You don't like rebase? You don't like rebasing? Okay, I gotta hear this. Tell me, Jomi. It's so complicated? Yeah, but like my rebasing's super easy. I do like a pull, I do dash R, and I rebase. I hit U, and it runs rebase. It's super nice. I like my Git tree being very clean. So if you look at mine, there's probably like no merges. I almost never merge. I think if you're working on a team, there are probably valid reasons of why you want to have merges, just so you can see how the tree separates and comes back in. But it's just me, so rebasing's fine. Like if like I had people doing like big features and they did a big feature off on a branch, then I probably want to capture that in the Git tree. But most of the stuff people make is like small changes. In those situations, I think you should just rebase. But I don't know. That's just one man's opinion. It's also just one man's correct opinion. So my bug keeps getting weirder. I'm sorry, bud. Bugs are the worst. You gotta smash them all, crush all the bugs. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day. Almighty unit who knows it all. Yep, I know. I like to joke about it because I definitely do not know it all. I just blew one off my screen. Does that count? Yeah. Oh yeah, that counts. As long as it's crushed. As long as it's gone forever, it's considered a crushed bug. All right, I have to go. I'll see you all later on Thursday, probably. So goodbye.